You may start, Swamiji.
Okay. Gurur Brahma, Gurur Vishnu, Gurur Devo Maheshwara, Guru Sakshat Param Brahma, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah, Sada Shiva Samarambham, Shankaracharya Madhyamam, Asmadacharya Paryantam, Vande Guru Parampara. In our last session, we did up to Shlok 48, Shlok 39. Pratyak bodhaya abhati swadvayananda lakshanaha advayananda rupasya pratyak bodhaika lakshana. In our last session, we started with Yad Anantyam Pratijnaya Shruti Tat Siddhaya Jagav Tat Karyatvam Prapanchasya Tad Brahma Iti Avadharaya. It started with 33rd shloka. So now, to prove the infinite nature of that is Brahman, the absolute truth, Atipadaya Shruti Tat Siddhaya Jagav, then the Shruti has shown Prapancha, the multiplicity of these names and forms, the world of names and forms, as the effect of that absolute truth. Now here we have seen the cause, the substratum, as that absolute truth Brahman. Now it is not easy to comprehend, understand how that one appears as many multitudes of different names and forms and different colors and all that thing, living and non-living all together. It is very difficult to comprehend that. In generally, the creation, anything that we create now, we have these three types of causes for that. The Upadan Karan, material cause, then the efficient cause, Nimitta Karana, and then the instrumental cause. So in the making of a pot, mud is there as the Upadan Karana, material cause. The pot maker, the potter himself, is the efficient cause or the intellectual cause behind it, and the instrument, that is the potter's wheel, is the instrumental cause. But in the creation, there is no instrument. There is only Upadan Karana and Nimitta Karana. And this Upadan Karana and Nimitta Karana, the material cause and the efficient or the intellectual cause, both are the same entity, the supreme reality. Now, because the creation is by Sankalpa Matra, there is no other instrument as such, by Sankalpa Matra. The entire, like the dream world is the projection of the individual mind, so also the external world is a projection of the total mind, Sankalpa Matra. It is only, where is the dream world? It has got no reality. You can say virtual reality. So this is what it is, and it is unmanifest. Anything that we see in the manifest world, which technically is known as Bhutakasha. Our mind space is the Chittakasha. And the external world, whatever we see, the objects, they are in the Bhutakasha. So it is the Sankalpa first, it comes in the mind, and then it is projected outside. Like, for example, a house, a beautiful house that is built on a plot of land. Before that appears on that plot of land, it first comes as a thought in the architect's mind, in the mind space, in the Chittakasha mind space. So that is a thought. He has the idea, the concept, how it would be, and his idea that is projected on the plot of land, and then that building gets up. This is how it is. So it's all sankalpa matra. Without that thought, in the absence of that thought, nothing can be created like that. It all begins from the mind space. So similarly, the entire existence is unmanifest. It is through sankalpa that manifests. Then so many other examples come. How one entity can be at the same time living and non-living also, sentient and insentient, multitudes of names and forms, variety of colors, and all that thing, just one, that is a substratum of that. How is it possible? We have seen in our last session also that the material world, the basic building blocks of the material world, of course, the living body, the sentient beings who have the body, that body is made up of matter alone. And of course, the insentient one is matter totally. So both are matter alone. And the substratum for that, the material cause for that, immediately we can see as the subatomic particles. So that subatomic particles have formed living and non-living both, sentient and insentient both, various permutation and combination. Another example that is very beautiful one that we can take is, look at a massive banyan tree. Sometimes it can occupy acres and acres of land, just one banyan tree, with multitudes of roots coming out of its branches and leaves and stem, and the roots that goes on inside the earth, everything. But if you have seen the seed of that banyan tree, each fruit has got many seeds, and the seed is even smaller than a mustard seed. So this huge, massive banyan tree with its roots, its stem, its branches, its flowers, fruits, massive that it looks, which is occupying acres and acres of land, it is unmanifest in that tiny seed of that banyan tree, that very tiny seed. When you look at the seed, we cannot imagine that such a huge, massive tree can come out of this seed. Unbelievable. It is. We cannot believe. But that is the reality. It is unmanifest in that tiny seed. And then when it gets the right environment, the soil, water and everything, then it starts growing, and one finds that it becomes such a massive banyan tree. So the blueprint is already there. It is unmanifest in that seed. And then it manifests to such a huge tree. So that is how, when a tiny seed can hold a massive banyan tree, the entire thing, the blueprint of that. Similarly, that absolute truth, the substratum, it is sankalpa, this is a projection. It is virtual world. Chidakasha, it is a solid space where there is no room for any bhutakasha or chitakasha, room for any objects, things and beings, or even vrittis or thoughts. Chidakasha. So from there, then the Chittakasha and then the Bhutakasha. Then the thoughts come in the mind, and then it is projected and we see the external world, the Bhutakasha. So this particular thing, the creation, there are various theories of creation given in science, also explain the Big Bang theory and all that. Then of course various scriptural texts belong to various religions, they also explain all that thing. But no one can explain for sure completely to that to satisfaction. And another funny thing is that when any book belonging to any religion, when somebody says that their book contains the entire truth about God. It is blasphemy. Why is it blasphemy? Because if they say that one book contains the entire truth about God, the problem here is that the book is finite. The words in those books are also finite. That particular book is also finite. How can a finite book containing finite words describe an infinite entity? So therefore, it is not possible. That is the blasphemy. To claim that our book is the supreme and our book talks about entirely everything about God. If you want to know about God, then this is what it is. It is not possible. An infinite entity cannot be explained in words, limited finite words, in a finite text, a finite book. No, it's not possible. This Sanatan Dharma and the supreme text, the Vedas have understood it very well. And therefore, we should not be bound by the books also. Books have a limitation. So, only Vedanta has got the courage to say after certain point of our evolutionary spiritual path to discard even the books, because we have to go beyond the books. Whereas in most other religions and all, they said that our book is the supreme, hang on to that, hold on to that, don't leave. And here it is said in Brahmabandhu Upanishad, it is very clearly said, Grantham abhyasya medhavi jnana vijnana tatparaha palalam iva dhanyarthi tyajed grantham asheshatah. Grantham abhyasya medhavi, the intelligent one, the wise one, after studying the text very well, jnana vijnana tatparaha, understanding what is jnana, what is vijnana, everything very well. Then palalam iva dhanyarthi, as the one who is desiring the grains, he discards the husk. Similarly, tyajed grantham asheshatah. So this medhavi who has done the study, he tyajed, he gives up the books, asheshatah, not keeping any of that. I'll keep at least one book. No, all books are given up. One has to go beyond the book. So we have understood the limitation of the book as well as the words in conveying that which is infinite, that which is beyond words. So this has to be understood. There can be no bigger blasphemy than claiming that our book is the supreme because it contains everything about that absolute truth. Impossible. That is biggest blasphemy. Then it was also said that Vijidnyasyataya yacha vedanteshu mumukshibhi samarthyate atiyatnena tad brahma iti avadharayet. So in the Upanishad also it is very clearly said, Vijidnyatasva in Vedanteshu, mumukshubhihi, that mumukshu also they contemplate, which is the object of the deep contemplation, that is Brahman. The object of deep contemplation, samarthyate atiyatnena. So this mumukshubi samarthyate gets established atiyatnena with great effort. So understand that to be Brahman. So only through knowledge there is a gain. Without knowledge there is no gain. Then Jivatmana praveshasya niyantrutvam chatan prati shruyate yasya vedeshu tad brahma iti avadharayat. Having created this world, the creator, the substratum, identified with, or so to say, entered the created and became a creature. Now this so-called entry is in the form of abhasamatra, that is the reflection of consciousness. That's all. There is no physical entry as such, it is just the reflection of consciousness. So in the mind-intellect equipment. So therefore, now, once that is reflected in the mind, then the ego manifests, the I thought manifests first, and then all his problems begin. The sorrows of imperfection, the sorrows and imperfection of this jiva, of the samsara, then it begins and suffers because of the wrong identity. So, and this having entered praveshasya nyuntratvam chatan prati, and then he enters and then it becomes their controller. Controller, that is then he expresses as karta bhukta. Shruyate yasya vedeshu tad brahma iti avadhare. That is what is heard in the Vedas. Understand that to be Brahman. So again and again, it is the same thing, that entry and all that thing. Basically, in the creation, if you look at it, there is nothing created as such. There is only an appearance. Like the virtual world is created. You see, there is a three-dimensional projection also. There are technologies available by which three-dimensional images can be projected in space. That is virtual reality, one can say. So similar thing is this. So that is the projection, and in that there is no loss for the substratum, the cause, the infinite cause. There is no loss. Millions and millions of waves are created on the surface of the ocean, but there is no loss to the ocean. When the waves merge back into the ocean, when there are no single waves, there is no gain also. By creating it, or in the absence of waves, by creating there is no gain, in the absence of waves there is no loss also. The volume of water doesn't increase or reduce by the presence or absence of waves. As the weight of a computer doesn't increase or reduce by adding or deleting any data in that virtual data. The weight of the computer remains the same. It's all virtual. So there is no impact on the cause, even though the effect appears, but there is no impact or no change, no transformation, no modification in the cause. That has to be understood as the absolute truth. Then, having entered and then controlled, then it was said, Karmanam phaladhatutvam yasya eva shruyate shuta jivanam hetu kartutvam tad brahma iti avadhare. So that is Brahman, that which gives the, who is the giver of the results of the karmas or action. That is Brahman. So whatever karmas are performed, the results are given according to that, the fruits are given. Yaseva shruyate shuta, that is heard in the Shruti. Jivanam hetu kartutvam, and also expresses in the jivas, in the mind-intellect equipment, as the doership notion, hetu kartutvam, as the karta. So know that the one who is giving the phala of karma and that which is expressing also as the karta in the jiva, know that to be Brahman. So basically everything is Brahman, and other than Brahman there is nothing there. Phala dhatutvam. So who is enjoying, who is suffering? Only because of ignorance only the suffering is there, not otherwise. And then different karmas are performed, giving different results. And then whom can we blame for our own karma? Even in the present life, by our actions, we are making a blueprint for the next form. And we are making that now. And when we get that in the next life, then we can't blame anybody, because we have ordered it, and according to our order, the form has come. And then once the form comes, and what that form will enjoy or suffer comes, the quality of the body, mind, intellect, senses will be there. So then we can't complain, because we have ordered it according to our own karma. Then, in order to determine the oneness, of this self and the self everywhere. That is the individual self, Atman, and the Brahman everywhere. Then it was said that Tvatvam Padartho Nirnitau Vakyarthascha Chintyate Aduna. Vakyartha Chintate Aduna Tadatmya Matra Vakyartha Tayoho Eva Padartha Yoho. Tat and Tvam Padartha Nirnitau. So, the meaning of this Tat and Tvam that was discussed, the Vachyartha, the Shabdartha, or the indicator, the word meaning of Tat and Tvam. And then it was determined that the word meaning, if you go by, then this Tvam is just a Jiva. Jiva with the limitations of space, time, and causation. But the Lakshartha, the indicative meaning of Tvam is the Sakshi Chaitanya. And Ishwar is the Purnananda, Brahman, without the Upadhi. So Jiva without the Upadhi of Avidya is Sakshi Chaitanya. And then Ishwara without the Upadhi of this Maya Shakti is that Brahman, that absolute truth, Purnananda. So this oneness is shown. Now, Tadatmya Matra Vakyartha Tayoho Padayoho. Now, in this total identity of this, Tat and Tvam is shown. How this Tat and Tvam totally, if you remove the conditionings or upadhis, then they are the same. They are not two different entities. But at our level, we understand it as two different entities. It was explained that Sansargaha va Vishishta va Vakyarto Natra Sammataha Akhand Ekarasattvena Vakyartha Vidushamata. According to the wise, according to their opinion, their mataha, according to the wise, Sansargaha va Vishishta va. That is the two types of the meaning of the sentence brought by the grammar and the common language, and other by Vishishta, by qualified meaning. So here, the word meaning was taken, Tat as the controller Ishvara and Tvam as the controlled Jiva. They were taken as the meaning. So these meanings are not acceptable. Na atra sammataha, vakyartha na atra sammataha. Then what is acceptable? The wise also understand that there is akhanda ekarasatvena. There is a continuous, unbroken oneness. Ekarasatvena, of bliss. Ananda, akhanda ekarasatvena. So between the Tat and Tvam again are not two different entities. They are the same entity, but differentiated with the Upadhi. What? Between the two, Tat and Tvam. So it is Akhanda Ekarasatvena. So word meaning is not acceptable. Pratyak Bodhaya Abhati Saha Advayananda Lakshanam. Advayananda Rupahacha Pratyak Bodha Ekalakshanam. So Pratyak Bodha, that is the witnessing consciousness or the consciousness that is within, or that which is the self, Atma, Abhati, and that is Advayananda Lakshana. So that is of the nature of Advayananda. And Advayananda, what is the non-dual bliss? Of the nature of non-dual bliss, Advayananda, that is the self alone, Pratyak Bodha Ekalakshana. So there is no difference between the Sakshi Chaitanya and Advayananda or Purnananda. They are the same. That self expresses that which is the self within, Jiva, the self, that is Advayananda, and Advayananda is the self. Self is the Advayananda. So Pratyak Bodha Abhati. So therefore, that immediate pure consciousness within, in Jiva. So Ananda is there where there is no sense of duality. We have seen this. Ananda will be only where there is no duality. Therefore, we experience only Ananda in the deep sleep state, not in the waking or the dream state. It is with sorrows, miseries, boredom, and all that thing comes there. But here only when, because temporarily there is non-duality in the deep sleep state. Mind is the thing which projects the duality. In the absence of duality, we have absolutely no problem. So therefore, this Ananda is expressed as where there is no duality of aham idam, ahamta mamata, then attachment, expectation, possessiveness. So they are all the dualities, and that is what causes all the pain and suffering. So till here we had done in our last session. Now, what happens when this identity between thou and that, tvam and tat, is realized? It is explained in the 40th shloka. So you will look up this shloka. Itham manyonatadatmyam pratipatiriyada bhavet abrahmatvam tvamarthasya vyavarteta tadaivahi. Itham anyonyatadatmya pratipattihi yada bhavet abrahmatvam tvam arthasya vyavarte tada evahi. Vyavarte tada evahi is given up or discarded immediately. Tada evahi. What is discarded? That I am not Brahman. Abrahmatvam tvam. That is the meaning of tvam as not Brahman. That is discarded immediately. Itham in this manner. So whatever before that, we have been clearly shown the lakshartha of tvam, the indicative meaning of tvam, the indicative meaning of tat, and how these both are the same. Itham. When anyonyatadatmi, when one is able to experience anyonyatadatmyam, that is the perfect oneness between the tat and tvam, then the self will be recognized as nothing but Brahman alone, Brahma Swarupa. This Bheda Jnana is where we see all the differences, where there is a sense of otherness, where the duality is there. It is only when the mind is active, the sense of duality, sense of otherness is there. In the absence of the mind, there is no sense of duality, no sense of otherness, and therefore there is no problem. There is no sorrow, there is no misery or pain, anything, only bliss. Ananda is there. So the mind is present in the waking plane, the mind is present in the dream state, but in the deep sleep state, mind is temporarily absent. So therefore, there is no duality. There is only non-dual experience. We do not have any sense of otherness there. So this Bheda Jnana is the one which causes all the sorrow for the jiva. Because of the sense of otherness, sense of duality, then we have some likes and some dislikes, raga and dvesha, regarding the world around us, the things and beings around us. Raga and dvesha will give to attachment and aversions. Likes and dislikes will give to attachment and aversion. Some things we like very much, we get attached. Something we do not like, we have aversion for that, hatred for that. So this attachment and aversion, that becomes a bondage. And because of attachment, then the things and beings, then there will be expectations. And then when the things do not fall in place as per expected, as the way it was expected, then again it is a problem that causes sorrow, misery, and pain. So when there is an expectation, therefore, while walking spiritual path, it is very important. There should be no attachment, no expectation, no possessiveness. Because these three things, they cause a lot of trouble. When we have expectations, and then when it doesn't measure up to our expectations, something or being, then of course we become disappointed, frustrated. That is there. And when we are attached to something and there is a loss in that, then too there is a misery. And then possessiveness also causes problem, because then we become bound by that which we possess. Because of the possessiveness, we get possessed by that rather. That is how we suffer. So because of this ignorance only, we have this karta bhokta bhava, and then we get drawn into the cycle of this desire, action, fruits of action, experience of that, then again desire, and it goes on like that. So when this avidya ends, atma bodh happens. Then what happens? This jiva jagata ishvara bheda disappears. Jiva jagata ishvara bheda, actually jiva jagata ishvara, these three entities, they appear three in ignorance. Because of not knowing the reality behind it, we see three as different entities. Jiva, then Ishvara is somewhere yonder, and then we see this Jagat around us. But with the realization of the self, Atma Bodha, then it is understood that there is this Jiva, Jagat, Ishvara, Bheda, everything disappears. There is only one entity which is expressing everywhere. And because of the limitations of the instruments through which we perceive, that entity is imperceptible to us and something else is seen in its place. And that is how we get deluded. Now, if that is so, that is what itham anyonya tadatmyat, then there is abrahmatvam. Tvamarthasya is discarded immediately. That is, that tvam is not Brahman. That which we had hung on to, that tvam cannot be Brahman. We had taken it that way, but that is discarded immediately. Once that tadatmya happens, the identity between tat and tvam, that is realized. Then it is given up completely. And then what? Shankara explains in the next verse, 41st verse. Tadarthasya paroksham yadyevam kim tata shrunu purnanandaikarupeణ pratyagboधो vatisthate. Tad arthasya paroksham yadi evam kim tat shrunu purnananda ekarupeణ pratyagboधः avatisthate. So now here Guru raises a doubt and then he himself answers. If Jiva and Ishvara are identical, then what? Pratyak Bodha. Pratyak Bodha is what? Sakshi Chaitanya, witnessing consciousness. Pratyak Bodha. And that is the indicative meaning or the lakshartha of Jiva. Pratyak Bodha. That is Tvam. So that is the meaning of Tvam. Jiva. So that will be realized as Purnananda Ekarupena Advaya. When they are identical, then this is what will be realized. So the Sakshi Chaitanya as Purnananda Ekarupena Pratyak Bodha Avatisthate. So Advaya, which is the indicative. Now Purnananda Ekarupena is indicative meaning of Likshartha of the Ishvara. So then when this is realized, when this identity is established, it is realized, then same Sakshi Chaitanya itself is Purnananda. Same Tvam is Tat. Same Jiva is Ishvara. So another thing that we have to understand here is that Pratyak Bodha Avatisthate. So now that Purnananda itself is Sakshi Chaitanya within the self, and that Sakshi Chaitanya itself is Purnananda, Brahman. Now, one important thing that we need to understand is that in Brahman, there is no consciousness as we understand it. We understand consciousness as conscious of something. We are conscious about things and beings around us. We are conscious about the environment around us and something like that. That is how we understand. So, in infinite, non-dual infinite truth, Brahman, there are no things and beings to be conscious of. So, nothing to be conscious of, or rather, there is nothing for the consciousness to illuminate things and beings around, because it is non-dual reality, absolute truth. There is nothing to illuminate there. So there are no thoughts to illuminate, no objects. So it is thought-free, objectless, and in a manner of saying, we cannot give a name to that, but something has to be said. So we said that it is thought-free, objectless, pure, blissful awareness, something like that. But they are all limitations. They are words only, and they have their limitations. So that is what we say. But there is no such thing, no consciousness as the way we understand consciousness. So Jiva, because of this constant mental projection, Jiva has a problem because the mind is overactive. It keeps on projecting. Our world is only projection of the mind. Sankalpa matra. Jiva Srishti is what? Projection of the individual mind only. The Ishvara Srishti is there, in which that is the projection of the total mind, and in the projection of the total mind, then there is a projection of the individual mind. And this projection of the individual mind is what makes us suffer. So, because of this constant projection of the mind, the Jiva cannot remain at rest, peaceful. So it keeps on illuminating the objects around it. So as long as he is ignorant of his self, this thing goes on. So mental projection is that now, without the mental projection, then if there is no mental projection, there is nothing to illuminate. But as long as the mental projection is there, the objects to be illuminated will be there. And therefore, this Jiva will be always restless. And because of this projection, he is not able to go within. So therefore, he remains ignorant of the blissful nature of his own self because of this constant mental projection outside. So that is the way Maya has made it. Avarana and Vikshepa. This is how Maya expresses itself. Avarana is the veiling of the absolute truth, and then Vikshepa is the projecting of that which is not real and make it appear as real. So because of this mental Vikshepa, this is the total Vikshepa of Maya Shakti, and in that our own mind is also projecting. We are so lost into this mental projection outside in the world, and therefore we never turn inwards, and therefore we remain ignorant of the source of infinite bliss within us. Because this mind keeps running in the external world, and we hardly have any time to withdraw from that. Only when we withdraw from that sufficiently, then only we can focus within, where the source of infinite bliss is there. So that is how, because of this ignorance of bliss, this fellow suffers. Recognition of this absolute Brahman as a self is the firm knowledge, and not if Ishvara is taken as other than one. So for that, these mental projections have to stop, allowing the mind to run amok in the external world and keep projecting. Jiva Srishti. If it was this way, if it was that way, or we have already projected our own Jiva Srishti by our own likes and dislikes, Raga Dvesha. We have already projected one, and we are suffering because of that. And on top of that, we keep adding to that. And where is the time for the mind to turn inwards? And therefore, we remain ignorant of the source of infinite bliss within us. then this jiva can definitely experience that infinite bliss once the identity with the body, mind, intellect equipment goes away to the realization of self. Now, what is the exact contribution of this statement now, Tattvamasi, in bringing this essential identity between thou and that, Tvam and Tat? That is being explained in the next two verses, the 42nd and the 43rd verse. The direct meaning of Tvam and Tat, they are rejected, and then the Lakshartha or the indicative meaning is taken of these two words in the next two verses. Shlok 42. Tattvamasyadi vakyam cha tadatmya pratipadane lakshau tattvam padarthau dvau upadaya pravartate tattvamashyadi vakyam cha tadatmyam pratipadane lakshau tattvam padarthau dvau upadaya pravartate. So tattvamasyadi vakyam, in this Mahavakya, like Tattvamasi, the Lakshartha of Tat and Tvam, that was established. Tat was established as Advayananda and Tvam was established as Sakshi Chaitanya or Pratyak Bodhi. So this meaning is accepted after the Anubhav Pramana. Anubhav Pramana, after the experience, or rather after the awareness, after the realization of the self, this is accepted between Tat and Tvam. That is the full identity between Tat and Tvam. Hence, the Vachartha or the word meaning of Tat and Tvam, that is Ishvara and Jiva, is rejected. They have been rejected. So, the indicative meaning has been taken in this. Now here, this is continued in the 43rd verse also. Hitva dvau shabalau vachyau vakyam vakyartha bodhane yatha pravartate smabihi tatha vyakhyatamadarat. Hitva dvau shabalau vachyau vakyam vakyartha bodhane yatha pravartate smabihi asmabihi tatha vakhyatam adarat. Now, hitva that is discarded. These two meanings, the vachartha, the word meaning is discarded. Now, in Tattvamasi, Shabdartha, that is the word meaning of Tat as Ishvara and Tvam as Jiva, Shabala Vachya, with Upadhi Sahit, that is with the conditioning of Ishvara and Jiva. What is the conditioning of Ishvara? Ishvara conditioning is Sarvajnata. The Upadhis, that is omniscient, omnipotent and omnipresent. And the Upadhi of Jiva is the Karta Bhava. And of course, Sukhi Dukhi with the Samsara. So that has been destroyed. Hitva discarded. That meaning has been discarded. Now the Lakshartha of that is taken. So Lakshartha of Tvam was taken as Pratyak Bodha, Sakshi Chaitanya, and then Lakshartha of Ishvara was taken as Advayananda. Those are Purnananda, infinite bliss. Those two were taken, and then thus the total identity between Tat and Tvam, Ishvara and Jiva, was fully established. So Tatha Vakhyatam Adarat, that was fully established. Now there is no doubt between the Tat and Tvam. Now, in the 44th shloka also, here again, Shabdartha of Tvam Pada is explained briefly. What is that? Alambanataya bhati योस्मत् प्रत्यय शब्दयोः अंतःकरण संभिन्न बोध सत्वं पदाभितः आलंबन तया आभाति यह अस्मत् प्रत्यय शब्दयोः अंतःकरण संभिन्न बोधः स त्वं पदाभितः. Now here this I, alambanataya bhati, now this tvam-pada, we arrived at the shabdartha of the tvam-pada by ascertaining the meaning of the first person, I. So tattvamasi, the instruction is tattvamasi. So this I is instructed to the jiva. So first person I. This I is subject who experiences all the experiences in the external world, the events and the environment and everything, as well as the joys and sorrows. Then the thoughts within, illumined by consciousness, they thus becomes the Chaitanya Jiva. The first thought that manifests in the intellect when the consciousness is reflected there is the I thought. So I thought is illumined, and then all the other things starts. I, you, this, that, and everything starts after that. So in the absence of this vritti, I vritti, or consciousness, then there cannot be any play of ego. If there is either of this, if the I is absent, if the thought is absent, I thought is absent, and if the consciousness is not there, one of the two, so then there is no play of this ego. If both are absent, then that is well and good. Only pure bliss is there. So something to eliminate I, the consciousness. So in the absence of these thoughts within this I vritti particularly, then there cannot be any play of the ego. Antakaran sambhinna bodha satvam padabhidi. Since the antakarana is itself limited, and therefore this I, the jiva, will always feel limited and bound by his own desires and passions, and then get in the bondage of karma. Because of the desires, he'll fall into karma and he'll be bound by those karma and the karma phala. So these desires and passions, of course, determined by one's own vasanas that have been brought from the past life. And now they have manifested to a certain extent. We have no control over the environment also. They also determine how it will go. So this is the vachartha of jiva, thou. This is the jiva with a limited entity, with his upadhis and all that thing. And then karta, bhokta, bhava, and all that. This is it. Now, with this upadhi, jiva is limited ego, limited aham, limited I. But when the upadhi is rejected, upadhi of avidya is rejected of his own self, then the same jiva is purnananda, purna bodha, pure blissful self, and nothing else. So this upadhi, that is basically it is avidya or ignorance of the self. And that upadhi can be rejected with only with the knowledge of the self, not otherwise. So antakara sambhinna bodha sam tvam padabhidi. Now that was the direct or word meaning of the jiva. In the following verse, the direct or the word meaning of the shabdartha or vachartha of the term tat, as Ishvara is elaborated in the 45th shloka. Mayopadir jagat yoni sarvajñatvadi lakshanah parokshabala satyat atmakastat padabhidah mayopadihi jagat yonihi sarvajñatvadi lakshanah Paroksha Shabalah Satyat Atmakah Tad Padavidah. Now, the Shabdarth of Ishvara is described here. Mayopadi. It has got the Upadi of Maya, Maya Shakti. So, Ishvara, the Supreme, it expresses through this Samashti Vasana that is called as Maya, Maya Upadi. So, now he has Maya as the Upadi, the Ishvara. So, now, like Jiva has got the three bodies, the gross, subtle, and the causal body, three bodies. So Mayopadic Ishvara also has got this gross, subtle, and causal body. So this gross body is the Virat, subtle body is the Hiranyagarbha, and the causal body is the Avyakta. So as in the Jiva, the Baker, waking plane of consciousness, then we have got this Vaishva. And then in the deep sleep, Abhimani is the Tejasa, and Pradnya is the deep, the dream state. Abhimani is Tejasa, and deep sleep state is the Pradnya. So also in Ishwar also the Virat Purush, Abhimani, the three egos, that is Vaishwanara, then Sutratma, that is the Hiranyagarbha, that is the subtle body, the ego, and Antaryami. So these are the three egos according to the three forms, three bodies. Now Hiranyagarbha is like that banyan tree seed, where the entire vasana or the entire creation lies unmanifest. So it is the Hiranyagarbha. So it is there inherent, it is unmanifest, then it manifests after some time. So the banyan tree is unmanifest in the seed. When the right environment is given to the seed, then it will manifest. Puberty is unmanifest in a child. As soon as he gets into these teen years, then the puberty starts manifesting. So they are there inherent, then they start manifesting. So with now, as I said earlier, with this sankalpa he creates, because there is no instrumental cause in this creation, only upadan karana and the nimitta karana. Nimitta karana, upadan karana is the substratum itself, because there is nothing else, and nothing cannot come out of anything, cannot come out of nothing. If something is there, it has to come out of something. Something cannot come out of nothing. So the substratum is always there. So this Ishvara creates the entire Srishti with his own sankalpa, and then desiring to experience it, enters the created and becomes the creature. So Ishvara, of course, is the master of Maya, and so he is, of course, free. He is the wielder of Maya, and therefore he is not affected by Maya. He is Sarvajna, Sarvashaktiman, Sarvavyapi, omnipresent, omniscient, and omnipotent, and he is in constant awareness of his blissful nature, Satchidananda Swarupa. So, though Maya is his Upadhi, he wields the Maya as Upadhi, as a weapon, as an instrument rather, and he is not affected by that. He's the wielder of that. So, Tat, that which is Satyam, Jnanam, Anantam, with Upadhi of Maya, becomes this Nimitta and Upadan Karan, that is the Sattva Guni and Tamoguni. We have seen this earlier also. So, Sattva Guni, that Brahma Tattva with Sattva Guni Maya as Upadhi is Ishvara. Tamoguni Maya as Upadhi is the Jagat, and Rajoguni Maya Upadhi is the Jiva. This we have seen earlier. So here, he becomes the Upadan and Nimitta Karan both for this entire Jagat. So that is the Shabdartha, that is the word meaning of this Tat. Now, having said that, in the next shloka, 46th shloka, Pratyak Parokshataikasya Swadvitiyatva Purnata Virudhyate Yatastasmat Lakshanasram Pravartate. Now, this is an interesting thing. Pratyak Parokshata Ekasya Swadvitiyatva Purnata Virudhyate Yata Tasmat Lakshanasam Pravartate. Now, this is difficult to accept for us. Pratyak Parokshata Ekasya. So, Pratyak is the immediate self, our own self, Pratyak. And Paroksha, that is something other than us. So here, immediate self is Jiva, that is I am Jiva, I am the self, and then Ishwar is somewhere on yonder, Pratyak and Paroksha. That is here immediate, and that is yonder. Sadvitiyatva Purnata. And then there is duality also. And then there is Purnata. Now they are Virudhyate Yata Tasmat Lakshana. They are all opposing Lakshanas. One that is immediate, one that is away. One in duality and one is oneness, absolute oneness, no sense of duality there. So they are opposing qualities, opposing nature. And how can that be accepted as one? So this, as we have seen, Tvampada, but Lakshartha of Tvampada is what? Sakshi. Sakshi Chaitanya, Pratyak Bodha. So, and Tatpada is, which is Purnananda. So that is Paroksha. So this Sakshi is taken as Pratyaksha, and that is our own self. This Jiva is taken, Tvampada is taken as Pratyaksha, and Tatpada is Paroksha, that is Ishvara. So Jiva and Pratyak is Jiva, Paroksha is Ishvara. They are away, they are two opposite. Now, how can one be simultaneously Pratyak and Paroksha? It is not possible. It is not, how can we accept that? So also, how can the same thing be simultaneously? Swadvitiya also and Purnata also, one and many, same time. That is also not possible. Identity actually can be only between two entities having similar qualities. Then there can be an identity, but not something which has got dissimilar qualities. So one is Paroksha, one is Pratyaka. Jiva, that is Tvam, if taken as Jiva, is Pratyaka, and Tat taken as Ishwara is Paroksha. Tvam taken as Jiva has got duality. Tat taken as Ishwara has got oneness. So simultaneously it cannot be immediate, Pratyak and Paroksha, as well as one and many. That is not possible. So the identity can be possible only between two things which are of similar qualities. So therefore this Vachartha, the Shabda, the word meaning of Tat and Tvam, if we take that to be real, we can never arrive at a logical conclusion. Or rather the logical meaning or acceptable meaning or a rational meaning of their identity. So Jiva is experienced as one's own self, that is Pratyak. And Ishwar is something Paroksha, something yonder, is beyond our direct perception, beyond our direct experience. That is Paroksha. How can there be an identity between these two? That is not acceptable. We are going by this meaning. This is not acceptable. Therefore, we have to take the indicative meaning of the Lakshartha of Tvam as Sakshi Chaitanya and Tat as Purnananda. So, that is Advaya bliss, that is Brahman. Then only we can arrive at a proper meaning. If the word meaning is taken, then it is not possible. So, having said that, what then is the suggestive meaning of a word or a statement? How do you arrive at that? Shankara defines the Lakshana methods. Now this Tattvamasi, the entire statement, we have seen Tvam, we have seen Tat, and now the entire statement of Tattvamasi, that when the word Asi is there, Asi connects both Tat and Tvam. How it connects and how to arrive at the correct meaning, because if you go by the word meaning, it is impossible because they appear to be diametrically opposite, so it is not possible. So here, Lakshana methods, that is indirect meaning, has to be used, and that is given in the 47th shloka. What is that? We will see in our next session. Now, if anyone has got any questions on the topic that we covered today, that can be taken up for discussion.
Any question?
Yes,
Hari Om.
Swami.
Yes.
Yeah. In chapter 41, in a para it says the individual self, that is the jiva, it has constant agitation with the mind, and can remain, never remain without being illumined. And so there's nothing of peace and bliss of the pure Brahman. That is, it is quite confusing. That statement is quite confusing.
Which shloka was that? Shlok 41.
41 at page 139, the last para.
Tadartasya paroksham yadi evam kim tat shrunu purnananda ekarupena pratyak bodha avatishtate. Now here the problem is that because of the extrovert nature of our mind, mind by nature is extrovert. It is outgoing.
Yes.
We have got 5 sense organs. Through these 5 sense organs, it flows out into the 5 specific fields. There is no 6th field for the mind to go. Only 5 specific field. Shabda, Sparsha, Rupa, Rasa, Gandha. That is the field of sound,
smell,
and then the touch, then the colors and forms, taste and smell. So these are the fields it will go. Where else it will go? So constantly, and for millions of lives, we are born, we grow up, and we use our sense organs to experience the world around us. So it continuously goes, and the experiences are varied: good, better, best, and bad, worse, worst. It goes on like that, and then we are totally caught up in those experiences. That whichever is good experience, better experience, best experience, we want to keep on repeating it again and again. So the mind will continuously keep planning to repeat those experiences to eke out some kind of joy, pleasure, or happiness in our life. At the same time, those experiences which have given us sorrow, miseries, or pain, we will put an extra effort to avoid those as much as possible. And then this also creates in our mind an attachment to those which gives us happiness, and an aversion or hatred to that which gives us sorrow, pain, or misery. So the mind is continuously absorbed into this external world. It keeps on projecting in the external world between the things and beings, objects of likes and dislikes, attachment and aversion, and then there is expectation, and then there is possessiveness, and all those things follow. And that is how we draw sorrows, miseries, and pain from the samsara. So the mind is designed like that. But now it is not impossible to withdraw the mind from the external world. Though the mind keeps on running into that, but we have to withdraw the mind from the external world, and there are various techniques given. So that is how we withdraw the mind from the external world. In Yoga Shastra, in Hatha Yoga, through pranayam practice, we can withdraw the mind from the external world. Then pratyahar follows. So once the mind is withdrawn from the external world, then it can focus within. That is why, because this mind is constantly running outside, we are not focused within, where the source of infinite bliss is there. The Maya Shakti has made it like that. But it is not impossible to do that. So slowly we have to withdraw it. And why this mind is restless, agitated, and not at peace, continuously going into that, because that is its nature. But there are ways and means to quieten the mind, to withdraw the mind. In fact, I'll be publishing an article this Sunday on mind laundering on my website, that beinghappy.in website. Mind laundering will be the title, and I'll be publishing in that article, and how we get agitated, frustration and depression and all those things happen, disturbances happen because of the garbage that we have collected over lives together, and we keep on collecting even now. So cleansing has to be done. And how this cleansing we can do, various techniques are also there. Briefly only it has given, because it is not a huge article as such. On a website only briefly it is given. So those techniques are discussed in that. So those articles you can read that particular way. It will be published on Sunday. So we have already seen how to quieten the mind. What is it that drives the mind into the external world? One thing is that the desire is there. Something or the other desire is there. But then desire, from where does the desire come? Desire comes from the vasanas, the inherent impressions that we have collected over the lives together, millions of lives, the vasanas. So vasanas are there, and from vasanas, from time to time, the desire arises. Many of these vasanas, some are strong vasanas, they will not go away unless it is experienced and exhausted, they will not go away. Some are the medium, some are the mild ones, so that can be overcome just like that. So as much as the vasanas are reduced, to that extent the desires will be reduced, and to that extent the mind will be quiet. And therefore the techniques have to be practiced to reduce this vasana, the impression that we have collected our lives together unnecessarily, and therefore our mind keeps going outside. It thinks that there is a joy or happiness in the outside world, and therefore it keeps running there. So we have to reduce the vasanas, and the techniques to reduce the vasanas I have discussed many times. In Bhakti Yoga, there is the japa sadhana is given. Through japa, we can reduce these vasanas to quieten the mind so that it doesn't project. So in the japa yoga, then in hatha yoga, it is manduki mudra. Then in karma yoga, nishkam karma yoga. Then in jnana yoga, it is pratipaksha bhavana, seeing the defects in our object of desire. So slowly the desire for that object will go away when you continuously keep on seeing the defects in that. And in Kriya Yoga, it is Chidakash Dharana. So to a great extent, these vasanas can be cleansed out. This garbage can be cleansed out, which we have collected over the lives together. And to that extent, our mind will be quiet. And that quiet mind can be easily applied to the introspection, to the contemplation of the higher reality. So it is not impossible. There are ways and means how we can do that. It's possible.
Thank you, Swami. Hari Om.
Anybody else? Anybody else wants to ask question? Swamiji? Hari Om.
Hari Om. Yes.
Now in the previous para, Asha talked about the page 139, last para. I am talking about the one para before. In that, the word, the sentence is like that. In Brahman, there is no consciousness as we know. We now know it. We can comprehend only consciousness of things. Meaning, what does that mean, Swamiji? Because we understand that ultimate is the pure consciousness. Now here says the Brahman, which is the final plunge. there is no consciousness. What does it mean?
It means that, plain and simple, the thing we have understood very well. Brahman cannot be described or any name cannot be given. We cannot say that Brahman is consciousness. We understand consciousness very well. Brahman is even beyond consciousness. It cannot be given that name. Now, consciousness, as we understand, is that conscious of being something, conscious of being, conscious of my own thoughts. I'm conscious of my feelings. I'm conscious of somebody present here. I'm conscious of my environment. So that we understand very well through our limited mind intellect equipment. Actually, this absolute truth cannot be given a name. Even it cannot be called this pure consciousness we are calling for our own convenience. That cannot be called as consciousness also. This is what it is. So there cannot be any name for that entity. It is for our convenience we have given that absolute truth the name called Brahman. Brahman is not the name of that absolute truth. It is a working name that we have given. As in mathematics, we denote that unknown entity as X. So this unknown entity, either it is denoted as Om or Brahman or something like that, that which has got no form, no colors, no quality, nothing, it cannot even be named. And it cannot be described. Plain and simple. Whatever we understand through our limited intellect, mind intellect equipment, consciousness, we understand what it is. We are conscious of something and all that thing. So that absolute truth cannot be that, and therefore it is said that consciousness is always that which illumines something, the thoughts or objects or something or being like that. We are conscious of some objects here, we are conscious of some people around, we are conscious of our environment, we are conscious of our own thoughts, we are conscious of feelings or emotions, and so on. So in the non-dual reality, in the absolute truth, there is nothing to illuminate. Neither objects, nor beings, nor environment, nor emotions or feelings or thoughts, nothing absolutely. So therefore, this consciousness that we have called, it cannot be that what we understand. That is beyond that also. So only for saying sake, we say that it is pure consciousness. So what is the difference between ordinary consciousness and pure consciousness? So just to distinguish between the two, then we call it pure consciousness, or to sound a little different, then we call it as a pure awareness. So, but still it is, we are expressing it to the limitations of words.
So, Swamiji, can I conclude?
Yes.
That pure consciousness is equal, basically it is equal to the Brahman.
Yeah, that is equal. As now, as we understand, we say, okay, that is equal to Brahman, we say. But then we have to understand it is not, it cannot be taken as consciousness as we understand. But to differentiate between that, then we add this pure word against that. It is pure consciousness. Pure consciousness means pure knowledge, means what? Where there is no object, no thoughts. When we talk of knowledge, what we understand by knowledge? Knowledge is always thought-based. Somebody has got knowledge of history or geography or science or maths and things like that, knowledge of politics and knowledge of this, they are all thought-based. Even this Vedantic knowledge is thought-based. So then when we say pure knowledge, what is pure knowledge? That is thought-free, where there are no thoughts. So that is how we distinguish between knowledge and pure knowledge.
So let me say, it is not, but it is illuminated also, isn't it? Because of the Brahman, it is because of the Brahman, Sharir, Man, Buddhi, Chit, Ahankar gets the sentiency.
Sentiency, yes.
But instead of Brahman, I call it an illuminator here because of its function.
Okay, that is fine. Illuminator, that can be called like that. So the differentiation is made for our convenience of communication and like that, but a name cannot be given. If we call it as a pure consciousness, it is to distinguish between the mere consciousness and this is other than that. We say it is pure knowledge to distinguish between what we understand by knowledge. What we understand by the word knowledge is knowledge of so many different subjects. But here there are no subjects, there are no objects, there are no thoughts. So that is so distinguished. To distinguish between that, then we call this as pure knowledge. Then we call it as pure consciousness, or we call it as a pure awareness, something like that, to distinguish only. That also cannot be its name.
Okay, Swamiji, now the I of Jiva, small I of Jiva and I of the realized master, they are different, because I use I as an ego part of it, as a Jiva. But realized master has got a problem that he knows that he's a capital I. But in dealing with the world, he has to use this small I, isn't it? Although he is conscious about the capital I.
Yeah, he is conscious about that. He doesn't have a sense of otherness. He sees everything as an extension of his own existence. So the dealing in the world goes on as it was earlier, because then the body, mind, intellect, equipment that is programmed according to the prarabdha, it will go about it. Then the divinity, once the ego is destroyed, so to say, of a realized master, there is no ego. But he will continue, because after the realization, then only divinity expresses through his form for the good of this world. So that will go according to that. It doesn't affect him the least. How he deals with the world, how he deals with the beings around him, it doesn't affect him. Then he is one with the universe. He is one with everything, because then he sees everything as an extension of his own existence. So therefore, there is no sense of otherness. So he goes about, as long as the form is there. Once the purpose of the form is served, the form will drop. That's it. That is a small event in that big reality. So the form will be dropped. That's it. But his dealings will be according to that only. He will go about, his purpose is served in this world. That's it. So he has no confusion in his mind. Of course, as far as Jiva is concerned, how the Jiva deals with this realized master. Jiva he will deal with the realized master only from his standpoint of ignorance. But the master doesn't see Jiva as Jiva. He sees his own self manifesting to that form also.
Okay, Swamiji, Chittakash and Bhutakash, these two words you have used, isn't it? Both are one?
No, they are different. In fact, there are the three Akashas are there. One is the Bhutakasha. Bhutakasha is the space where we see all these things and beings. Then the other one with the outer space. Then there is the Chittakasha. Chittakasha is the mind space, where there are thoughts and feelings and emotions. That is the mind space. And then there is Chidakasha, which is the substratum of the Chittakasha and Bhutakasha. So from the Chidakasha, the space of consciousness. Now here also we are using the word consciousness because of lack of words to denote that, the absolute truth. So the space of consciousness, Chidakasha, that is the substratum, that is the cause of Chittakasha and Bhutakasha. So Chidakasha is the substratum where the Chittakasha is there. Chittakasha where the Sankalpa takes place, and then it is projected as Bhutakasha where the forms are seen, things and beings are seen. So first it comes in the mind, and then it is outside. The Sankalpa takes place, and then it is seen like that. So these are the three Akashas: Bhutakasha, Chittakasha, Chidakasha, Chittakasha, and Bhutakasha. Chidakash we have discussed when we did Chidakash Dharana meditation sessions. At that time, we had discussed this Chidakasha, the space of consciousness. When we close our eyes, we see a blankness there. Now, whatever we see, that is the screen. And beyond that screen is the Chidakasha.
Okay.
So that is the space of consciousness where the enchanting movie is going on. All that is the subconscious mind. Beyond the screen, the subconscious. As soon as we close our eyes, whatever blank we see, that is the Chidakasha. And beyond that screen is the subconscious mind, where the play of all the vasanas are there, the subconscious mind. And once we break through that, once we are able to see that, we will not be able to understand anything, but that will reduce our vasanas to a great extent. So that is what Chidakasha, Chittakasha and Bhutakasha is. That is the division between the three.
Swamiji, please bear with me. Last question.
Yes.
What is the difference between Brahman, Ishwar and Avatar?
Ishwar and Avatar. Can there be a difference after studying Tat and Tvam so exhaustively?
No, Swamiji, Brahman, Ishwar got it. But Avatar, because in the last study circle, not Friday, Tuesday study circle, there was a bit confusion and controversy.
No.
So therefore, I want to clarify, particularly Avatar and the Ishwar.
Actually, there is no difference at all. It is the only difference of Upadhis, isn't it? So, Upadhi like Avatar, say Ram Avatar or Krishna Avatar and all that Avataras. So, it is only the difference of Upadhi only. They come with their own sankalpa. Ishvara with their own sankalpa, with his own sankalpa comes as Avatara, and that is how it is. So, the Upadhis will be similar, but they are very well aware of their own Swarupa. Whether it is Rama Avatar or Krishna Avatar or Ishwara himself, they are very well aware of their own. Now, Upadhi, even Ishwara has got the Maya Upadhi, but he is free from that. He is not influenced by his Maya. So, that Upadhi is there. And the same thing, Jiva, Ishwara, Avatara, Brahman, they are all the different names and all that thing. Because of different Upadhis, they are called as, one is called as Jiva, the other is called as Ishwara, the other is called, one is called as Avatara, and so on. But they are all absolutely Brahman alone. The absolute Truth, nothing else.
But Avatara has got a name and form, whereas Ishwar doesn't have a name and the form. Upadhi it does have, but isn't it?
Yeah, but he has also got Upadhi, but he has got no name and form, but they take a form anytime. He can take form anytime, and he can manifest anytime and become unmanifest anytime. So manifestation and unmanifestation goes on. So that is not a big deal for Ishvara. So that is what it is. Basically, the substratum is the same, whether it is Jiva or Avatara or Ishvara or Brahman, the same.
So Ishwar is totally free of Maya or Upadhi, isn't it?
Yeah, he is wielding the Maya.
Avatara.
So there is an awareness of his own Swarupa, Satchidananda Swarupa, there is an awareness. So when he is wielding that, then only he is called as Ishvara with the Maya Shakti. He is called as Ishvara, otherwise he is Brahman alone. So, and unfortunately, Jiva has got Avidya as his Upadhi. So therefore he suffers as long as the Avidya is there. Once the Avidya goes, then there he is. Then he and Avatara and Ishvara and Brahman, everything all together is only one.
So Avatara and a realized master evolves, whereas Avatara descends, isn't it?
Yeah, they take according to those own sankalpa they manifest, and then they become unmanifest. That is the only difference one can say. We have to say a difference. Actually, that is not a difference, because difference is in the Tattvataha. Tattvataha, they are all one.
From our point of view.
From everything, from the essence. If you look at the essence, everything is one. But to make a differentiation, then Avatara and Ishvara and Jiva and Jagata and then Brahman. So to make a differentiation, we talk about the Upadhis and things like that. Otherwise, in essence, everything is one. Whether it is Jiva, Jagata, Ishvara, Avatara, Brahma, everything is one.
Swamiji, thank you very much. Enjoy last 4 or 5 sessions, enjoying very much.
Very good, very good. The contemplation has to go deeper and deeper, because this Tattvamasi, at the end of it, that Tat Tvam, that we have to understand. Here, the Adi Shankara is talking about our own Swarupa. He is telling us, you are that. We have to comprehend it again and again, contemplate on it again and again.
So when should we say Aham Brahmasmi? So
let us pray, hope that it will happen. One day, Aham Brahmasmi declaration will be there. Allah, after Prajnanam Brahma, Tattvamasi, then will come Ayam Atma Brahma first has to come. Then only Aham Brahmasmi. After Tattvamasi Mahavakya, then the next is we have to realize Ayam Atma Brahma. This Atma is Brahma. Then the declaration comes Aham Brahmasmi. Until and unless we realize that Ayam Atma Brahma, this Atma is Brahma, then we cannot say Aham Brahmasmi. So we have to first realize that.
So still few sessions are left.
Maybe now we have reached how many? The 40?
No, not this. I'm talking about from Aham Brahmasmi.
Aham Brahmasmi. Oh, no. You should not think in those terms that few sessions are left. No. It can happen every moment, any moment, rather. Yeah. It can happen any moment because even now you are that alone. So that is the beauty of it.
Yeah, thank you very much, Swami.
Shall we
Swamiji, are you keeping well?
Yeah, absolutely, no problem.
Today I felt that you're a little cold, you know.
No, I was going a little slow today.
Yeah, I felt that.
That's all. Otherwise, I'm normal. Absolutely no problem.
Okay.
So shall we conclude?
Yeah, take care, Swamiji. We'll conclude, Swamiji.
Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namah Harihi Om